Hey everybody, welcome back to Malta 5. My name's JD, and today we are bringing yet another M21 card at you, and we're going to be building around Transmogrify today, which for some of you more veteran players might look familiar as basically a color-shifted version of Polymorph, which is like an old M10 classic janky combo piece. But yeah, so Transmogrify is kind of our new color-shifted version of that. And for those of you who are not familiar, we'll just go over the card real quick. It's 4 mana sorcery, and it says exile target creature. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. That player puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles the rest into their library. So the way the combo works is we only have 2 creatures in our entire deck. And that is End-Raze Forerunners, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this is our big finisher. This is the creature we're going to hit. So we only have those 2 creatures, so we're guaranteed to hit them when we cast this card. And so how do we get creatures onto the battlefield if we can't have any in our deck? And the answer is token makers, like all these sorcery spells that put tokens onto the battlefield. They don't count as creature cards in your deck, so they don't screw up the Transmogrify, but they do put creatures onto the battlefield for you. So that's essentially what our deck boils down to, is token makers and then the Transmogrify effects. The other one being Indomitable Creativity, which is similar. Again, sorcery speed. We'll be casting it for 4 mana because we're going to make X1. And this time it says destroy instead of exile, but destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards. So basically the same thing, just worded slightly differently, but the same effect. In our deck, it has the exact same purpose. So token makers and then our Transmogrify effects, which are these 2. And when we cast that, again, we're just all of a sudden we'll dump a End-Raze Forerunners on the battlefield and hopefully win, or get close to winning. A turn 4 End-Raze Forerunners with a few other tokens on the battlefield ain't bad, not bad. Obviously the combo is a little weak. It's fully sorcery speed. Everything in our deck is sorcery speed. So of course the downfall to this is that the opponent can just respond and kill the token that we are targeting, and then our Transmogrify just fizzles, and we haven't done anything. So that's the weakness. Of course, it's not going to work every time, but we're going to try to jam it and make it happen as much as we can. The good thing is we have 8 copies of this effect, so we can just try again. If the opponent nerfs our first one, makes it fizzle, we can just try it again because we'll have plenty of tokens to go around, that's for sure. And we have 8 copies of this effect. We could have even gotten more with Luca. Let's find Mr. Luca. There he is, the Coppercoat Outcast. His -2 is another version of this same effect. Exile target creature you control, then reveal cards, blah, blah, blah. So same thing. The reason I didn't include Luca is he costs 5 mana, so he's a little bit expensive mana-wise. He's also kind of expensive, like real money-wise, ticket-wise. Not terribly, but I am trying to keep this deck super, super budget, because another upside to this is it clocks in at a whopping, I think, 4.3 ticks or something. So under 5 tickets, and in paper, it's under $30. I think it's $28 or $29. So this is ultra, ultra budget. So you could definitely include Luca. But for my purposes, I wanted to keep it really budget. And also, like I mentioned, his mana cost is kind of high at 5, and we're literally only using him for his -2. His +1 is useless. I mean, we could plus him just to plus him, I guess, but we were not getting any benefit out of it because it says exile the top 3 cards of your library. Creature cards exiled this way gain. You may cast this card from exile as long as you control Luca Planeswalker, blah, blah, blah. But we don't have any creature cards in our deck, so his +1 is literally useless. We can plus him just to use his minus ability at least one more time than we normally would, but we're not getting any value out of the plus. And so he's really just there for yet another copy of this effect, this Transmogrify effect. And my thought process was that 8 is probably enough. I don't know that it's worth having a 9th, 10th, 11th copy at 5 mana. We'll just keep the 4 mana versions in Indomitable Creativity and Transmogrify, and hopefully that's enough. But Luca is definitely an option if you wanted to have even more consistency and more copies of that kind of effect. Speaking of other things we could have put in this deck, the other obvious thing to do would be to splash for white. White is really good at making tokens. Some of the better token cards are in white, so we could have gone white-red, but again, trying to keep it budget. The mana base is literally just basic mountains and 4 copies of Castle Embereth, which is good for our deck. If our combo doesn't finish the job, then if we have an army of tokens, the Anthem effect on Castle Embereth is not bad. So that's our mana base. So you could splash white if you wanted to up the budget on this a little bit. You could also choose a different finisher. I went with End-Raze Forerunners. It's a dirt cheap card. It works well for what we want to do, but you could also do something like one of the Eldrazi, or you could do, what is it? World Spine Worm, I believe. Is that what I'm thinking of? Yes, World Spine Worm is a pretty good one. It doesn't have haste, which is the only downside, but it's a goddamn 15/15 with trample. And when it dies, you put 3/5/5 green worm tokens with trample onto the battlefield. So really hard to kill. Even if the opponent does kill it, you still end up with 3/5/5s, and they are tokens. So they even help you. You can transmogrify one of those tokens and do it all over again. The other cool thing about World Spine Worm is when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. So we have a card in the deck, Honor the God-Pharaoh. It makes a token, but it also digs. So if we're looking for our Transmogrify, we can discard a card to draw 2 cards while at the same time making a token. So this helps us dig for our combo pieces if we don't have it in hand. But so hopefully when we're casting this spell, we're discarding an End-Raze Forerunners if we have it in hand, because we don't want it in hand. We want it in the deck. We can't cast it. We don't make green mana, or it's unlikely to get up to 8 mana anyway. So we're never casting this. We need it in the deck. We don't want it in hand. So we're discarding it with Honor the God-Pharaoh. And had these been World Spine Worms, instead of just sitting in the graveyard, because they're also useless there, they would go back in the deck where we want them. So World Spine Worm is an option if you want to up the budget a little bit. One of the Eldrazi could be cool. Whatever finisher you want, but we're going with End-Raze Forerunners. So I guess we'll just quickly look at the other cards in the deck. We only have a single 1-drop, which is kind of unfortunate. We're often not going to be doing anything on turn 1, which kind of sucks. But our 1/1-drop is Satyr's Cunning. It's a sorcery, create a 1/1 token, and it has Escape, so we can use it again, which is nice. So this is a decent one to discard to Honor the God-Pharaoh. We don't mind if this is in the graveyard. The other one we don't mind being in the graveyard is Goblin Gathering, which gets better the more and more of them that are in the graveyard. So it base creates 2, but if there are other copies in the graveyard, it creates more than that. So those are the ones we're looking to discard to Honor the God-Pharaoh. Dragon Fodder, that's another token producer. This one's nice because it's only 2 mana. Create 2 tokens. Forbidden Friendship, again 2 mana, creates 2 more tokens. Hordeling Outburst is really cool because it creates 3 tokens for 1. So, if you're up against a deck that's trying to 1-for-1 you with removal, like with fatal pushes and things like that, they're going to have a hard time with cards like Hordeling Outburst that are giving you multiple threats for the cost of 1 card. So it's hard for them to keep up with stuff like that, but we are obviously very weak to sweeper effects and that sort of thing. Anger the Gods wrecks us. Any of those like 4 mana sweepers definitely hurts us. So then the only other kind of cool thing we got going on is Cavalcade of Calamity, which is a 2 mana enchantment. And whenever a creature we control with power 1 or less attacks, it pings the opponent for 1 damage. And all our tokens happen to be 1/1s, so why not throw it in there? Get some extra points of damage in while we're trying to make our combo happen. It kind of, in effect, makes them all 2/1s when they attack, but the damage goes directly to the player. So even if they're chump blocked, they can still ping the opponent for some damage. So Cavalcade of Calamity is the other kind of cool card we got going on here. But that's pretty simple deck. We got token makers, we got Transmogrifys, and we got our finisher. The sideboard, I didn't know what to put in mono red. We can't have creatures, and we can't have artifacts really for Indomitable Creativity. So yeah, just mono red instants and sorceries. This is what I came up with. Alpine Moon to fight against the Lotus decks, I guess. Fry for spirits and control. Lava Coil for mono black and whatever other creature-based decks. Smash the Smithereens for like Ensoul artifacts and the what's it called? You know, the counter deck. Hardened Scales type decks takes care of artifacts. So yeah, that's the sideboard. You could definitely tweak that as well. But again, trying to keep it budget, just threw it together. Anyway, so that's the combo. It's 4 mana, sorcery speed. It's not the best thing in the world, but at this price, we might be able to sneak in some wins. So we're going to take it through a league and see how we do. And thank you guys for watching.